which is unnecessary, superfluous, and against the interest of the people. Hence, I oppose the introduction of the bill.
Sir, the pointing out of the ambiguity which prevails and also quoting from the slight dichotomy which prevails in the 7th schedule listed items, I just want to highlight, which I think Honorable Member Manish Tiwari also conceded, that there have been several amendments earlier, and probably he felt that it wasn't sufficient to say it's been done earlier, courts have not struck it down, so why not now, would not be sufficient, if I have understood him right. I would think it is important for us to recognize that the ambiguity which he rightly points out between 43 and 45 and 44, 43, 44 and 45, where one excludes the cooperative, 45 which it brings in the banking, and therefore with that done, with that remaining in front of us, the various amendments which have been done to the Banking Regulation Act with respect to the cooperative banks are not just one or two, they are several. 81, 84, 87, 89, 1991, 2004, 2013 and 2020, sir. Just to cite, there are several instances, I don't want to take the Honorable House's valuable time, but the simple understanding is, when the cooperatives, we are not touching any aspect of the cooperative other than that which claims under the name of banking. I would not so directly relate it, but I would certainly bring to the notice of this Honorable House. If I remember correct, in 2019, when there was the near collapse or complete collapse of a multi-state cooperative, which Honorable Speaker, remotely you mentioned, multi-state cooperative. Multi-state cooperative bank, not the multi-state cooperative dealing with primary agriculture society. It was through the Banking Regulation Act and also through the insurance, the body which governs insurance compensation to be paid for bank account holders. We had approached this Honorable House and raised the insurance cover from 50,000 to 1 lakh and from 1 lakh to 5 lakhs. And as a result of which we were able to give a lot of small account holders in these cooperative banks some relief. So the interlinkage between banking regulation and that which is cooperative but banks, not the primary agricultural society, is completely getting repeated in history, and every time the Banking Regulation Act has to, with due consideration, to come with a delayed step. This is one of the reasons why not just the Banking Regulation Act, but those related to this, we are doing it at one go. We can always come 4 times to this August House for the same cause. But when it is related to the same function of banks, either under the cooperative society or regularly under the banks, we need to take this route. And that is what is being done here. Just as an example, I'll cite the 2004 amendment, where section 22A was introduced as a part of the Banking Regulation Amendment and Miscellaneous Provisions Act in 2004. It addresses the validity of banking licenses granted by the Reserve Bank of India to multi-state cooperative societies. Section 22A was enacted to protect the licensing status of multi-state cooperative societies, ensuring that licenses granted before 2004 amendment remain valid and providing a clear process for those whose applications were still pending at that time. So repeatedly, the sections which have been brought in as amendments and also the court verdicts have repeatedly reinforced the point that the Banking Regulation Act and the cooperative banks do have this relationship, and therefore it has to be taken through this route. Otherwise, there is no attempt to undermine the cooperatives, particularly cooperatives dealing with everything other than the banks. Banks cooperatives with license for banking will have to have a route, and therefore we've shown this. Sir, Professor Saugata Roy, I partly answered him saying why so many acts will have to be dealt with. It is important, sir, that, for instance, the amendment that we're aiming at now is shifting of submission of statutory reports by banks, which he mentioned distinctly, to RBI from reporting Friday to last of fortnight, month or quarter. What's the rationale behind it, sir? The current reporting Friday system has several limitations that impact the accuracy and effectiveness of reporting of the data. These limitations are, and I'll name a few of them: incomplete coverage of monthly data, seasonal fluctuations in banking activities which lead to inconsistent reporting, and the need for adjustment every 11th year, which introduces complications and inconsistencies. And that is why, in order to address this issue, it is proposed to amend the legislation to transition to reporting on 15th and on the last working day of each month. Thereby, accuracy can be brought in. Reports for the 15th would be submitted. Reports for the 15th would be submitted on the 20th of the same month, while reports for the last day would be submitted by the 5th of the following month. So these are largely aimed at a common cause, a point which N.K. Premchandran would say, a point which Manish Tiwari would say, the larger cause is what you should deal with through the acts, but not the minor ones or not specific ones which benefit one section. This is actually going to impact the banking both of cooperatives and otherwise as well. These are data today which are being used legitimately with approval by very many different sources, and if inaccuracies are going to guide our policy making, it may not be effective, and therefore we had to come up with this. I would seek your indulgence in clearing this, sir.
प्रश्न ये कि विधेयक को पुनर्स्थापित करने की अनुमति प्रदान की जाए। जो सदस्य के पक्ष में हाँ कहें, जो सदस्य विरोध में ना कहें। मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में, हाँ वालों के पक्ष में अनुमति प्रदान की जाती है। माननीय मंत्री जी विधेयक को पुनर्स्थापित करें।